Yeah, she was our first born child, and July 4th, everybody said she'll be a firecracker, she'll be born on July 4th, and she was, and she always was a firecracker.
She disappeared suddenly one day, and after she did not appear for her work at the local diner, a missing case report was filed by her family. But only after 4 days of filing the report, her body was found in the trunk of an abandoned junk car.
David said, no, no, he kept walking the floor. I remember. And saying, no, no.
For more than 4 decades, the police couldn't find proper evidence to charge the person of interest with murder. When her husband decided to look for her after she did not reach home on time, he made an unfortunate discovery. Her partially clothed, bludgeoned body was found lying in the yard of the property that she was supposed to show to a client on the same day. Not only had she several times, her body was in absolute distress. In this video, we'll look at 2 such cold cases that were solved decades after the crime was committed. These will make you ponder what might have occurred if technology had not advanced. So without making you wait any further, we present you with 2 cold cases that were ultimately solved in 2021, a long time after the actual crime had been committed. This is the story of a 17-year-old Iowa teen girl, Maureen Brubaker-Farley, who was killed approximately 50 years ago in 1971. She was found dead in an abandoned junk car in a wooden ravine on Ely Road SW by 2 boys. Years later, after the case had gone cold, it was found out that George M. Smith, who Maureen's mother believed to be the prime suspect, was involved in the crime. Maureen Brubaker-Farley was the ever-happy eldest sister of her 7 siblings. She got married to David Farley in 1971, who had been ordered to serve a brief stint in Anamosa's correctional facility after getting into some trouble. Soon after their marriage, Maureen had decided to live near her husband in Cedar Rapids while paying her bills as a waitress in a local diner. In Cedar Rapids, she awaited a new beginning with her husband after his service time was over. But little did she know that in the following months, a tragic incident would take place with her. Early on Friday, September 17, 1971, Maureen was last seen borrowing money for a pack of cigarettes. She was supposed to go to Vida's, the diner she worked at, to receive her paycheck. However, she never arrived. On Monday, September 20, when her employer noticed that the usually reliable Farley had still not arrived or contacted him, he decided to report her as missing with the Iowa Police Department. The officials went on a hunt immediately after the report was filed, and her family was informed of the incident. Inevitably, they landed in Farley's sleeping room. Apart from the usual mundane things, they found a partial pack of cigarettes and her car parked at the residence's rear. The 17-year-old, however, was nowhere to be seen. On Friday, September 24, 4 days after Maureen went missing, Kevin Coppice and Danny Lineware were gathering their rifles to go hunting in the wooden ravines, sometime between 5 and 5:30 p.m. They had just crossed the river on the railroad trestle and were headed up Ely Road when they saw a junk car in the ravine. After getting closer to the car, they noticed someone lying across the trunk, with one leg propped up and the body lying against a rear window on its back, a fully clothed young woman with no shoes. At first, assuming that the woman was asleep, they continued down the road to hunt without wanting to disturb. However, just as they approached Highway 30, they decided to turn back and return to the junk car, as they found the woman's position rather unusual and eerie looking. Upon taking a closer look, they noticed that her body was showing signs of discoloration. meaning she has been dead for a long time. Frightened, the young boys rushed back to Lineweaver's home, where they told his mother Violet Fowler that they had found a body. At approximately 6:40 p.m., Fowler also saw what appeared to be a woman sleeping atop a car. Mrs. Fowler instantly took the boys and went to the Milo Scavor farm residence nearby, where she telephoned the police. After securing the scene, officials took Maureen's body to a local hospital for an autopsy. Investigators first speculated that the young lady was thrown from a passing vehicle, but they didn't rule out the possibility that she had been voluntarily put there. On Monday, September 27, Cedar Rapids police made a public call for anybody with knowledge of Farley's death to come forward and share what they know. The Assistant Cedar Rapids Police Chief, Kenneth Vanus, also went ahead to state that police suspected that Mrs. Farley died somewhere other than where the boys discovered her corpse. Detectives were now particularly interested in the girl's actions between September 17, the day she was last seen alive, and September 22. The chief publicly reported descriptions of Maureen, hoping someone might have seen her somewhere, while suspecting that she may have been incapacitated in some way during the time she was missing, because had she been in town or capable, she would have picked up her paycheck. The assistant chief cleared that there were no indications of any defense wounds, which meant that Farley was not given any opportunity to fight off her attacker. Her clothes were in a disarray but not torn. Upon further examination of her body, a blunt trauma to the side of her head was discovered, which pointed to a surprise attack. More investigation attempts reveal that several items were missing from the victim's sleeping room, including her pairs of shoes and a brown vinyl-colored bag, which contained her driver's license, usual makeup articles, a leather wallet, rent receipts, and a pad she carried to make notes. Vanus also reported that out of all the clothing articles, only the shoes were missing, but her feet were clean, which indicated that she hadn't been going barefooted when she died. Finally, the autopsy reports were out, showing no major signs of assault except for the skull fracture that resulted in her death. 6 months after Maureen's murder, her mother, Mary Ann Brubaker, had written a letter to the police department stating that she holds strong suspicion on George M. Smith to be her daughter's murderer. The police started extensive interrogations and lie detector tests of numerous suspects, including George Smith. But over time, they had to clear the name of other suspects and Smith because no clear evidence was found against them. DNA testing in 1971 was still not advanced enough and did not reveal any new clues or leads for the police. Eventually, the case went cold and was brushed under the carpet. It was only now, 50 years on, that investigators were able to match Smith's DNA to the suspect's profile after tracking down one of his relatives. But unfortunately, Smith was not charged for murder because he died in 2013, aged 94. With him, the intention of carrying out Maureen's murder was also buried. Even so, Maureen's family were filled with immense emotions and slight sense of justice when her murderer was found, owing to the advanced forensics technology. On the evening of December 1st, 1981, a 40-year-old realtor named Virginia Freeman got a phone call from a man interested in acquiring a home on the agency's records and demanded that a viewing of the property be scheduled for the day. The man, who did not identify himself, did not ask for Virginia by name. Instead, he just requested to see the property. Virginia, or Ginger, as she was known to friends and family, postponed dinner with her husband and friends to meet the client. Eager to close the deal, she agreed to see the guy. But before taking off to Greens Prairie Road near Welborn in Texas, she stopped by the family home to notify her 2 children, Brad and Betsy, that she would be a little late for dinner that evening. Virginia prioritized her family over all else. Therefore, she made sure her family knew where she was and when she would return. This information later proved to be very helpful for the police department. When Virginia did not come home by 6 p.m. that evening, her husband Charles became anxious and phoned the real estate firm to discover that none of her co-workers had seen her in the previous 4 hours. They informed him that she left at 2 p.m. to see a man with a country accent at a property and had not returned. Charles and a companion went to search for Virginia along Greens Prairie Road, and it wasn't long before they found Virginia half dressed and dead in the yard of the property. The police were immediately informed. The crime scene was enclosed and the investigations began. Upon examination of the scene, it was discovered that the earth around her body was raked with scratches, indicating signs of a struggle. The killer's DNA was discovered beneath her fingernails, and the body was sent for autopsy. The autopsy results revealed the cause of Mrs. Freeman's death. She had been in the neck 11 times and choked with such force that her neck was actually broken. She had also been struck across the head multiple times with a blunt instrument like a rock or a slab of concrete. Investigators came to the conclusion that Virginia had not even entered the property with a prospective customer who had brought her out to the secluded spot earlier that day. Police scoured the area extensively, and Brazos County Crime Stoppers offered a $1,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of a suspect in Mrs. Freeman's murder. Residents were requested to come forward if they spotted Virginia driving her white station wagon near Greens Prairie Road that day, and neighboring businesses were asked if they'd seen a suspicious male, maybe bleeding, enter their facilities at any moment on December 1st. Police created a composite sketch of a suspected suspect based on witness testimonies. The photograph was widely disseminated, but no one was ever caught for the crime, and the case finally went cold, remaining so for more than 3.5 decades. Later, modern technology helped in painting a more visually precise image of the slayer using a forensic DNA analysis service. When they put the killer's DNA from the Virginia Freeman case through the database, they discovered 2 female relatives of the murderer. This revelation sparked the hunt for the murderer, and after hours of genealogy investigation, a guy named James Otto Earhart was found to be a likely suspect in Mrs. Freeman's murder. He was identified as the murderer on June 25, 2018, 36 years after her death. Earhart is also responsible for the kidnapping and death of Candy Kirtland, a 9-year-old child. On August 11, 1999, he was convicted, condemned, and executed by capital injection. Owing to the advanced forensics technology, Virginia's family could finally have justice for an innocent killing. So guys, what do you think about these 2 cold cases which took decades to come to a proper resolution? Do cold cases in which the killer has already died of natural causes actually provide any sense of justice to the victim? Do the families actually heal further after it has been years since they lost an innocent loved one? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit that like button, share this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to never miss an update on whenever we come back with more interesting cold cases.